Welcome back to the Shankly Sessions, the Liverpool podcast we bring you each and every week on the Dynamo Podcast Network. Head over to YouTube, smash that subscribe and bell notification button. Joining me today, as always, my partner on the Shankly Sessions, Dean Fitz. How we doing, Dean?
Good to be back. Before we go any further, it's time we told the nation that we've put our little beef, if that's what we want to call it, to bed. Anyone that watched the deadline day transfer show could see the demon devil eyes in me due to my hatred of FSG. And you always take your anger out on your nearest dearest. So I just want to apologise to Niall wholeheartedly, like a brother and a father to me at the same time. But yeah, Niall knows my passion for Liverpool, so I'm going to bite my tongue and keep me peace regarding FSG, but I'm sure people already know just my exact thoughts on them, so we'll leave it at that. So I just want to apologise to Niall and to be on to bigger and better things.
Well, that's been a great show. Thanks, fans. Listen, what's this? Some sort of confession before you make a communion or confirmation or something? You feck off, you. Listen, we're all going to be divided in the fan base with our opinions. That's what it's all about. And don't be biting your tongue on anything.
On Monday night, having absolute carnage if the results don't go to shape tomorrow.
Yeah, we have a surprise return from Monday night as well, just to let viewers know, but we won't get into it at the moment. It's a surprise return. I suppose before we get into the show, this is the 20th anniversary of 9/11. So we'd like to send obviously our condolences and prayers and thoughts to all those families affected by it, the victims and their families and extended families and anyone who was caught up in it. It was a horrific thing at the time and certainly shaped the world that we live in now. 20 years on, I'm sure it still hurts and that wound is still very raw for a lot of people who were involved in it. And I'm sure it touched a number of Reds fans in the US and stuff like that. I remember at the time when they did the memorial and all, Brendan Rodgers and a Liverpool delegation and all went over and they laid a wreath at the memorial place as well. And also, just thoughts and prayers today. It is the 20th anniversary. Can't believe it's 20 years on. Where has that 20 years gone? And then you look at the situation at the moment in Afghanistan, like what really is being achieved when you go back and you look at it, you know?
Nothing. It's power, Noel. That's all it is. It's people in positions that, you know, America is the most powerful country in the world. So, you know, when you have a man sitting in a chair and coming into the presidential situation on the back of all what was going on in the US, and then this happens in Afghanistan, you know, you have 50% of the country pushing, saying they want to continue with the war. You have 50% saying we need to get our troops out, like they paid their dues over there. But look, that's neither here nor there. Like you said, 20 years ago, around this time, was what I think we'd be just after the second plane had hit. And I remember it like it was yesterday. I think everybody remembers exactly where they were when this happened. And I just remember coming home. No, I didn't even go to school because the first plane hit just before school started. And I lived literally 200 meters away from school. And I remember my mum went to work. My dad was out working, sitting there having my breakfast, put on the telly, flicking through the channels. And then you get the Sky News and you see the first plane had hit. And that was back then it was like that. This is an excuse not to go to school, but like when you think back to it now, sitting there watching, like, because when the second plane hit, everybody was watching Sky News live, or everybody was watching some sort of news channel live. And I can just remember, I get like this, the hairs on my head stand up. I just remember the second plane coming into view and bulldozing into it, and just sitting there for about 4 or 5 hours afterwards, because I was only 15 at the time, and just me jaw on the sitting room floor thinking, what the actual fuck is going on? It's just the 20 years have flown by, and as you said, that those people will never be forgotten. And you know, the fact that they're still fighting a war, the war had been going on before, but the fact that they're still fighting a war mainly after what happened and chasing down Bin Laden and stuff like that, you know, I don't think it'll ever go away. But look, we leave it as we'll never forget them. You know, our thoughts and prayers are with family, friends, and anybody that had anything got to deal with that, firefighters, blah blah blah, etc. And you know, hopefully one day they'll all be at peace. But yeah, they're in our thoughts and prayers today.
Absolutely. Let's move on to the show. I suppose like the resolution of this whole FIFA situation is the place where to start, isn't it? This was absolutely scandalous from FIFA and the Brazilian FA to try and pull this ban off. when I heard about it, I couldn't believe it. I mean, when we think about FIFA and all the problems they have internally and the stuff that's gone on there, and they're trying to throw shine on these Brazilian players who felt very unsafe heading back to their country, a red zone, obliterated with COVID. And then you see the debacle that unfolded. I mean, with the COVID officers running onto the pitch, abandoning the game. You know, it's just the whole thing was just shocking from start to finish. What was your thoughts on it?
The first I heard of it was was obviously I was flicking through. I was in bed, whatever night the Argentina Brazil game was supposed to start, and I was flicking through the channels. And when I got to Premier Sport, I just seen it all unfolding, but I didn't leave it on. I thought there was an injury or something like that. And first initial thoughts was that there was a racial attack with all the delegation on the pitch, and I was like, not this again, especially in a big game like Brazil and Argentina. So I just flicked past it. And then I don't know, I have an app on my phone, it's called One Football. It's literally covers all football across the world. And I got a ping on the phone and I opened that and it was like chaos in Brazil, 3 Argentinian players. We heard the story of what was going on. So I put the channel back on, and by the time I turned it back on, the Brazil team were playing an 11v11 on the pitch against themselves. And I'm like, what the actual fuck is going on here? Yeah. So I went in and had a look and seen what was going on with the situation, and the fact that some Argentinian players went through Venezuela to get into the country. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, this is 2021 with all the money that's in football, with like the platform football has, and this is going on. And then the news broke that players were going to be banned from playing in the Premier League this weekend. And like me and Greg, we didn't have, not an argument, it was like a little tiny back and forth, 2 or 3 messages. But Greg was saying like rules are rules and they need to be upheld, and you know, they should have travelled. They shouldn't have travelled. Players have the right and clubs have the right paying. If you're paying someone 200, 300 grand a week, you don't want that player, especially with the way the Premier League's now and the level of the standard that's in the Premier League, and you 5 or 6 teams in the league. If you take Alisson out of the Liverpool team, I'm just using Liverpool for instance because we're doing the Shankly says. If you take Alisson out, Fabinho out, and Firmino out, that's 3 of our best players. You're going into a Leeds game at the weekend. Now, you look at the situation with Spurs, they'd be missing 3 Argentinian players as well. These players should be given the option. If you want to go, you can go. If you don't want to go, that's perfectly fine. But if the club is paying massive wages, and the club has decided that, look, we don't want to risk the players going. We don't want to have them quarantining for 10 days, you know, missing an integral 2 games of the season, which is a big Leeds game away and a Champions League game where, like, if you lose to Leeds, if you lose to AC Milan, you know, you're already chasing. You know what I mean? So the clubs have every right to do what they did. Now, it turns out this morning that the players can play, and rightly so. But you're looking at the situation there with it. Alisson couldn't travel back to Brazil for his father's funeral, but yeah, he was expected to go and risk his health on a plane, risk his health while he was in Brazil, which is one of the most, like, it's one of the worst hit countries with COVID. You know what I mean? So I think it's backwards. I think FIFA just jumped on the bandwagon here when the Brazilian FA made this complaint, you know, that they wanted something put in place that players couldn't play for their clubs at the weekend. We know what FIFA are like with the corruption that's going on there, and they just love to stick the chest out and, you know, be centre of attention. The fact that they could just jump on the bandwagon and be like, yeah, let's put this in place and all. They knew the backlash that was going to come due to this, and they had to back down. And who's left with the egg on their face?
Yeah, I think a number of things stuck out to me when I went through it, you know what I mean? Because, I mean, no one wants to see players not being able to play for their country, the pride and the honour of doing it, and especially at that level, Brazil versus Argentina. But a number of things we discussed during the week as well. One, why wasn't the game moved to a green zone, the same as the Champions League or any other one? You know, the other thing that bothered me really was, if you have a proper COVID plan in place, why is it that COVID plan failed and those teams were able to make it to the pitch, and then they tried to make a big issue about this on TV? How did those players get off a team bus? How did they get into a dressing room? How did they go out for a warm-up? And then how did they get into a tunnel to go out and play in that match? Where is your
Brazilian FA?
Yeah.
They knew exactly what they were doing, Noel. They knew that those players came in through a back door of a different country. They knew they were going to be part of the starting 11. They could have easily went before 24 hours before. They could have went like days before this game was played. The Brazilian FA sat in that stand and they waited for that game to start so they could just run onto the pitch and cause this uproar, you know.
Make a stand.
Because the spotlight is on, it was live on TV. Brazil and Argentina is massive all over the world. But just going back to what you said there about playing in the green zone, it wasn't too long ago, and I'd imagine it's still going to be going forward as well. Brazil used to play friendlies in Craven Cottage because all of their players were predominantly in Europe. You know what I mean? Why could a game of that magnitude? There's very few actual players in those two setups that play football in Brazil and Argentina. So that game, if they were to turn around and say that game couldn't have been played in the green zone, that's bullshit. It's absolute bullshit.
Could have played at Wembley. Could have played at Wembley.
Exactly. It's only now that you've said it that makes so much sense, because Brazil play an awful lot of friendlies in Craven Cottage. So that could easily be played in London, anywhere in London.
Yeah. The other thing that kind of stuck out to me as well, I thought Klopp's interview was absolutely brilliant in the way he dissected every point of it down. But the one thing that highlighted to me was this 10-day quarantine when they come back. And I was thinking, he had mentioned, like, there's a 10-day quarantine, they're in a hotel, so obviously they can't train properly the way they should at these elite training centres that we have now. But also in terms of their food and their diet and everything else. So he said not only would they be quarantined for 10 days, it could take them another 10 days to get back up to speed with their fitness and everything else that they need to do. So in actual fact, you'd be losing that player for literally 3 weeks. And now we have another international break coming up with a load of throwaway matches. These are friendlies, I think, in South America, where there'll be a demand to do it again. And you're looking at another 21 days if that was to happen again. So in the space of a kind of a 6, maybe 8-10 week period, you would be losing players for nearly 40 days. And I was thinking, that's not acceptable in any way, shape or form. Either move the match or postpone them, because these matches that are coming up are nothing matches. They're not, I don't think they're even competitive fixtures. I think they're friendlies.
I'm trying. This boggles my mind so much. The money that it costs to prepare a friendly, and especially if the friendly is being played behind closed doors, why are countries still going about with this? Like, the season that was last year, you know, there was no break for any players going into a Euros. Then straight away you've an international break where some countries play 3 games in just over a week, and then we've another one coming up. I think is at the end of October.
Just after October, I think it's early November, and it's another 2 or 3 games.
I don't. Have they not learned anything at all? There's a World Cup coming up as well, like, and that's on the horizon. You know what I mean? And now there's talk of the World Cup being played every 2 years. This is FIFA sticking the chest out because they know there's so much money to be made, and they've missed out on so much money with games behind closed doors and with the pandemic. I know everybody's in a financial predicament regarding football and all sports regarding this, but for me, like this, it's on the verge of absolute chaos, because all club, what you said, like, players want to play for their country. There's no doubt about it. Unless you're Jamie Carragher, who says he's Liverpool before England. But when you think of the money that is being proposed for, like, we're talking about Champions League finals being played in New York or in Florida and stuff like this and all, it's just getting way out of hand. Like, the whole love, don't get me wrong, I'll never stop loving football, especially when it comes to Liverpool. But the whole love of football for just solely being about the game and stuff like that, now it's just being so commercialized, and it's all about this big brand, and sponsors get involved, and now they're starting to talk about salary caps coming in and all. But you're going to have the bigger teams that are going to like object against that, because Man City don't want a salary cap where they can only have this one megastar. PSG don't want this salary cap so they can only have one megastar. But imagine that Barcelona and Real Madrid are going to be the same and all, and it just leaves the smaller teams in the dust. You know what I mean? What happened to football being football? Like, all of this shit, Noel, and it's been magnified so much since COVID came about. You think FIFA would be coming out to try and help all of the smaller teams, all of the lower divisions? Instead, they're coming out all the way through this, and especially when the ESL was proposed, and I was like, no, you are not going to go against us. And instead of trying to negotiate and try and help everybody and get all this in line, it's no. We want we want a World Cup every 2 years. We're still going to continue with all these international breaks. They should have came out and said, right, set for the next 2 years, a set international break where clubs you have a week after an international break to get your players back into your club, to get them well rested and get them back into a training program. But instead, it's not. It's once the money is rolling in the door, they do not give a shit.
Well, you see, when we talk about things like that, I think about, player power. And we know that there's an awful lot of player power there. So if this is too much of a demand, Klopp mentioned yesterday that there's an onus on the club to be listened to, but they don't get even asked on these things. But what I would think is, why don't the players turn around and kick up about it? Like if you're the Brazilian squad, why don't you turn around and go, no, we're not signing up to that and we're not doing it and that's it. And if you push it through, we're just going to go on strike. And then if they've no players, then they can't play it. And that's it. Because it's just too much, because these guys are getting no time off. They're playing an average of 2 to 3 games a week now, every single different competition. And they're just adding more and more demands on it between these international tournaments. You got your Super Cup, you got your World Club Cup, you got all these things. These guys get no time at all. You know what I mean? No. And then if there's any reason why the top stars are getting injured or burnt out or whatever it is, you know what I mean? It's absolutely ridiculous. It's just, I just don't know where it goes from here. You know what I mean? Are we gonna eventually get to a stage? We've got the African Cup of Nations, we've got the Copa America, we've got all these international tournaments, the Nations League. Is it going to get to a stage where these guys get no time off? They just be full-time footballers from the time they're 18 all the way up till the time they're 40. It just makes no sense.
I'm surprised that it hasn't been proposed. That the African Cup of Nations being held in January, in my opinion, is still a farce. You know what I mean? You're in the midst of, and I'm not just saying it because we'll lose Salah and Mane, but like there's teams all over the globe that are going to be missing players in January, and most of the top European leagues in January, when the season turns into the new year, is when you're either in the midst of a relegation battle or you're really, really fighting out for the league title. Like, and both of those situations, you're fighting out for league title. You talk about the financial, like the money that you could gain, stuff like that, and going forward if you win the league, and then there's the financial ruin of being relegated. So I don't understand why the African Cup of Nations, why are FIFA not trying to get in touch with the African FA and trying to have this in the summer as well? Like, it's just, there's so much put on the players. What you said about strikes and all, there's players' unions all over the world. You know what I mean? We look what happened with the COVID and Jordan Henderson coming out, the captain's, can't think what the name was, but the captain of all the Premier League clubs coming out and saying, no, this is what we want to put in place. Why can't this happen on each continent, where someone reaches out from each union and says, right, this is what we propose? Like, if FIFA can sit down with a delegation and propose all this nonsense that they want, or if UEFA can, why can't the players reach out to each other and say, right, we need to make a stand. The demands are too much, because FIFA will have to listen. If it comes to the World Cup next year and all the big countries go on strike, imagine the financial room for FIFA.
Yeah, I suppose. I suppose when it comes to the African Cup of Nations, I'd have a little bit of sympathy for it, although the timing isn't great, and obviously as Liverpool we're heavily affected by it with the boys. But I just think with them, you kind of have to look as well at the disproportionate funding that comes out of FIFA for these emerging nations and stuff like that and all. So they're heavily reliant on the money that these tournaments generate. So I do have a little bit of sympathy for them and stuff like that, but it's just, someone needs to sit down and grab the footballing calendar by the balls and sit down and just schedule it properly, so these guys have a bit of time off, that they schedule international breaks and all these kind of things at the right time and stuff like that. Nothing bugs me more than when I'm really excited about the Premier League coming back and we're 3 games in and then it's gone again. I mean, it's absolutely stupid. You know what I mean?
I hate international football.
And it's just, well, whether you like international football or you hate international football, and I'm sure the players are all
still
very
have to agree,
I'm sure the players are very proud to pull on the jersey and play for their countries, and they want to do it. But they just need to sit down with all the footballing organizations and with the calendar and go, here's January to December, and this is where everything kind of slots and fits in, allowing for the fact that the players need a break. Because at this stage, I mean, most players playing in the Premier League at this stage are international footballs at one level or another, you know what I mean? So they don't really get a break. And the concern is really for the burnout and stuff like that. And no one wants to see you know, Ronaldo coming in and getting injured, or Cavani or Firmino or
I
Mane or
do.
Salah. No, but you know what I mean. We don't.
I
We
know what I
want to
mean.
see
Yeah, yeah,
good football. You know what I mean.
yeah,
So we don't. There's
yeah,
no point in bringing these guys into the Premier League and then, you know, they break down and we lose them for 2 or 3 months and the shine goes off it and stuff like that. You know, because at the very core of it, we're football fans as well. You know, just Liverpool happens to be our badge on our heart.
yeah.
The tour kit released there the other day, the yellow and red. We're going to be doing an episode looking at the kits now that they're all finally released. But I was a bit disappointed in the third one. I was hoping for a pinstriper, and instead I got a chessboard, a checkered one.
I was the same. Now, don't get me wrong. I love all the Liverpool stuff except for the Warrior gear that we got there a few years back.
Yeah.
But yeah, when it came out, like yourself, I would have loved a yellow pinstriper. I absolutely loved it. Like I think it was 74, 75, the yellow crown paints.
Yeah.
I'm not sure of the exact year, but I think that would have been a real homage, you know, to the old Liverpool.
Yeah,
you know, a lot of fans aren't happy. Sorry, the 1982 away short.
Yeah.
I had to Google that there. It wasn't off the top of the head. But I just picture Kenny Dalglish in that short. That was just an absolute cracker of a short. And I think they wanted to go down that route of that short, but you know, they didn't want to be the exact short. But no, look, I think all the shorts this year, I haven't bought any of the shorts yet because I'm waiting on the 97 emblem that's going to be on the back. I want to get when we go over for the Brighton game, I want to pick them up. But when the video broke for the yellow shorts during the week, I was very disappointed that Ronald McDonald wasn't wearing it.
Yeah, it was kind of like, it reminded me of like a real old school Eastern European type shirt. You know, what was the one that always has the checkers on it? Was it Croatia or Serbia or something like that? Or one of those, or Bosnia or something like that. They always have kind of checkers on them or something like that. And I was just thinking like a nice little pinstripe in there, but none of those checks. And I know like we don't necessarily want to go right back to 82, but we could put our 2021 flavor on it. You know what I mean? But
I just think the pinstripe would have been really, really nice on that.
It's real retro, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, you know, I love the retro shorts. I kind of the missus buys me the new shorts, but she started picking me up the retro shorts lately, and one of my favorite ones is the 82 short that I have. I'm building quite a collection, but I thought, look, I'm not going to knock Nike. You know, I think the 3 shorts this season are really nice. Originally, when the home short came out with the
orange,
the lightning through it and all, I was a bit iffy. And then when I went into the Liverpool store to pick up a few bits and pieces and get the young lads stuff, and I looked at it in person, like it is really, really nice. The away short is a fucking beaut, which I'm going to buy when we go over for the Brighton game. I'm just hoping that the 97 emblem is going to be on the back of it, and then I will get the yellow short. But like yourself, you know, I just would have loved the pinstripe. I just think I would have suited it better. The like to check what you said as well. It reminds me of the Adidas shorts. Do you remember when we got the Adidas shorts that had in the inside of the collar and had the red and white checking and all? But you know, there's money. I was going to say, look, there's money coming into the club, generate from the sales, but we don't know where that money is going. But no, it's not nice. But you know, I just think it could have been a bit better.
Yeah. It's not easy to pull off a yellow kit anyway. You know what I mean? So it kind of has to have a certain blend to it, doesn't it? And stuff like that.
Yeah, man, Kunate is making everything that Nike have put out this season look cool, isn't he? He's just fragrant as fuck, that guy.
Yeah. Well, he wouldn't be your average fan now, would he? Like, he's a monster of a man, like, you know. So
could all aspire to be like him, though.
Even if you don't think something looks cool on him, you're gonna tell him it looks cool anyway, aren't you? For fear of your life.
A big bird's coming out, but yeah, there was a couple of memes going around of Ronald McDonald in the short and all, and the McDonald's going behind.
Yeah, absolutely. Something I want to touch on here, and I mean, we spoke about it at the top of the hour there, but the transfer business was so poor and it sort of petered out. There was such a high expectation. I think a lot of it driven by the media more than the club in terms of who we were linked with, and it sort of has created a sort of a divide in the fan base. And no more prevalent than sort of between myself and yourself in terms of the division in our thinking. But I think now is the time not to delve into the detail of it. And if anyone wants to look at the actual detail of the finances in relation to Liverpool Football Club, check out on Twitter. There's a guy out there, Swiss Ramble is his name.
Yeah,
And
he goes really, really
he has
deep
broken out every bit of financial information for Liverpool Football Club and kind of explains where they're at and what their plan is and what they do and where their successes and failures are and all that kind of stuff. It's absolutely brilliant the way he breaks it down. So check him out on Twitter. Swiss Ramble, absolutely brilliant. But I think now we know what we have. And it's mad, isn't it, when you think about like 4 or 5 days after the transfer window ends, you know, the stories keep on going that we're being linked with Jude Bellingham and all these other players now, 100 million, 85 million.
I'm trying to block out that noise of we're signing Pedri next summer. And Jude, look, I'm not going to be looking. You seen how excited I was at the start of the transfer window when we were linked with all these big, not even massive names. Like I'm talking about, like Milinkovic, Savic, like Renato Sanchez. The Stal Niguel one has left a really, really bitter taste in my mouth that we couldn't even get him on loan. I'm trying to blank out now. The transfer window is shut. There's nothing else I can do. You know, it's time to just get behind the team. You know, if results do start going against us, you know, I'm going to find it really, really hard to bite down on my tongue. I know you were saying, look, get your opinion off your chest. You know how passionate I am. When I start getting opinions off my chest, I don't know the boundaries of what I'll say. You know what I mean? I say things before I think, and that's what happened with myself and yourself that night on the transfer show. So the way I'm looking at it is, we just have to get behind the team now. What's happened, you know, it is what it is. We're still stuck with Divock Origi. We've no backup now in a couple of places if players get injured, but we just have to get behind the team. And as I said, Liverpool had the opportunity for two windows in a row to build an empire to dominate football for 10 years. We missed out. We were the best team on the planet for 18 months. And FSG have missed a trick big time. And now we've given Man City, Chelsea, United, PSG, given all these teams the opportunity to catch up on us. So, look, it is what it is. We just have to get the heads down and hopefully lads step up and say, right, we need to get back to that level where we were for 18 months. Teams really feared us. Yeah. You know what I mean? We need to get back to that level. And that's the spine of that team. Nearly all of that team is the same team that we had for those 18 months. So it's still in those guys. So I'm not going to dwell on it too much. But we just have to get on with it and we just have to support the team, because at the end of the day, FSG, in my opinion, don't really give a shit about fans' opinions. When's the last time you've seen John W. Henry at a game at Anfield? You know what I mean? You look at the likes of the Leicester owners, they're part of the furniture. So, look, the fans have always been the 12th man, and the fans will always be the 12th man, regardless of who the owners are. So, look, we'll never walk alone. As you say, we are Liverpool, this means more, and I live by that mantra. So, I'm just behind the team now. Get out there tomorrow. Massive, massive game against Leeds away at a full Ellen Road. 3 points tomorrow will be huge going forward. You know what I mean? Get under the lights on Wednesday night, which you'll be at. I'm just so fucking jealous. But get a win tomorrow. You know, get going again. Beat AC Milan on Wednesday night. We have a couple of fixtures where you think on paper we'll get wins, and just build a bit of momentum.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I looked at it in hindsight as well. I was, you know, I wasn't that different to you in terms of the transfer window. In terms of my disappointment, obviously I wanted Neuhaus or Sol Niguez or any of these players, Paxton Daka, and I would have loved to sign any of those players and have them on our bench. But I kind of understood as well when I read into some of it, the difficulty in trying to convince those players to come and sit on a bench when they want guaranteed football. And I can understand from Klopp's point of view as well that he can't guarantee them football because of the structure that's there at the moment. Like, to be honest, if someone comes in an attacking role and Divock Origi goes out, how do you convince that guy to come there and sit on the bench? Because who's getting in before those front four? It's going to be very, very difficult. You know what I mean? And these guys that are moving, especially the players we were linked with, because we were linked with players at a very high level. So they're not coming to sit on anyone's bench. Sol Niguez has not gone to Chelsea to sit on a bench. He's gone there to play. There's no doubt about it. And I think looking at it as well, I think if there was a real issue there, I think Klopp would have been more vocal about it because he has no problem coming out and speaking his mind when it comes to issues in relation to FSG. He did it for the European Super League and all these kind of things. And I think if he genuinely was in for players, and I think if he genuinely wanted them, that's not to say we weren't in for 1, 2, or 3 of these players. We probably were. We made inquiries about Bazoum and various other players. But I think the media rallied us up into a situation where they linked us with Chiesa and Mbappe and all these players. And the fan base got so excited about it that when nothing happened, it was like, what the fuck, this must be the owners, you know what I mean? But I genuinely think, I know there's money there. Without a shadow of a doubt, there's money there. Let's not
definitely money there.
And I think in all seriousness, I think if Klopp went to them and said, I want this player, and they didn't back him, I think you'd see a very different Jurgen Klopp. You know, I spoke to Dean yesterday. Dean was on. We did a preview of the Leeds game yesterday, myself and Dean Breen. And he was saying that Bielsa had a problem with Leeds at one stage. And the way he showed his frustration was he arrived into training one day at Leeds with a full Juventus tracksuit on him. And I just thought that was absolutely brilliant. You know what I mean? So these guys.
That's brilliant. And I'm not even surprised because he's an absolute madman.
So I'm not sure whether genuinely we were going to do this. And I think a month out, I realized very quickly that I don't think we were going to sign anyone else, maybe one, that our focus was definitely on renewing the contracts and tying down the spine of the team, for which they're still trying to tie down Salah. So it remains to see what happens there. But look, we'll move on. We know what the squad is now. We've got to get behind the team. And that's for everyone in the fan base. You can show your disdain for FSG. You can do a march or a protest. You can do all that stuff if that's your belief that that's what you need to do. But at the end of the day, we support the team, not necessarily the board and not necessarily the higher ups and stuff like that. So we just got to get on, knuckle down and get into the rhythm of our season now and get on with it. And that's what I would say to any fans out there. Yeah, we didn't get the transfer window we want, but look, let's get into it. We have a great team there and we should get behind them, you know. And good news, I don't think this was any surprise at all. Sadio Mane's goal against Burnley, getting goal of the month. What an outstanding goal from start to finish. In terms of the build-up, Van Dijk out to Harvey Elliott, chests it down, controls it straight into Trent. The schoolboy little flick around the corner, and Mane running onto it with the half volley into the bottom corner. Absolutely outstanding goal. It was as much, I think it won it as much about the build-up as it did about the finish.
Yeah.
Because Sadio's the one who put it in the back of the net, so he gets all the plaudits. But the flick from Trent was sublime. The control from Harvey Elliott was unbelievable. Dane was talking to me yesterday on the Leeds show, and he was saying, Harvey Elliott, my God, what a player. What an outstanding season he had last year in the championship for Blackburn. He's come in, and of course, you called it too.
Yeah, this fella is going to be electric for Liverpool. He was our best player against Chelsea. You know, the trust shown by Jurgen Klopp to start him against Chelsea. You know what I mean? Where I do believe most managers wouldn't have went near that selection. Would not have went near that selection. But I believe this guy is fearless. I believe he doesn't care if he's playing against Chelsea or if he's playing against PSG. He doesn't care what the name is in front of him. You know, he's only a kid. He's got the world at his feet, in my opinion. And I do think in 5, 6, 7 years' time, this fella's going to be one of the best players on the planet. Fans of other clubs will listen to me saying that, and they say that's a bit far-fetched. You know, what did Ronaldo start out at? What did Michael Owen start out at? What did Robbie Fowler start out at? But these players, when they came on the scene, no one thought they were going to be the best player in the world. And why not Harvey Elliott be the best player of this generation coming through? This fella is going to be absolutely class. When he starts adding goals to his games and more assists, you know what I mean? The start of the season he's had, I'm so excited to see what happens with this guy. But yeah, just going back to the goal and all, the build-up, the long ball from Van Dijk, two chests, the chest from Harvey Elliott, and then it just rests on his chest, takes it down, little touch with the left foot into Trent around the defender, and the first time volley into the bottom corner, and off he goes celebrating, that big happy head on him. Thoroughly deserved goal of the month. Absolutely outstanding team goal. Hopefully more of it to come.
Yeah, I didn't see. I'm not sure if you were saying or not, but I didn't see Arsenal's goal of the month.
I did. I seen it was in the 5-a-side in training. It was. I think everyone touched the ball once, and it was a shot from the halfway line because there was no one in goal, and it went in off the post or something. But I'm not sure who scored. I think it was Smith Rowe or something like that. But yeah,
Yeah,
dire times for Arsenal.
absolutely. Yeah, huge game for them against Norwich coming up. Let's move on. Good news that I always believe, and I always like to balance the argument with FSG with good news and bad news. Obviously, they're partnering up there in Beijing with Li Shang, and they're opening up a Liverpool academy in Beijing in China, which I think is absolutely fantastic. Here we are becoming a real global organization in terms of our academies, in terms of our business partnerships, and all that kind of stuff. So, on that side of the business sense of things with FSG, I think they're doing an absolutely outstanding job. Um, Albeit the transfer window.
Marketing wise as well, like getting out there, build a bigger, we fans all over the globe, build a bigger fan base out there, and who's to say 10 years down the line, the next superstar Liverpool could come from that academy. So, for all massive clubs and massive brands, that you have to kind of branch out across the globe. And it's crazy. You look back to Liverpool 15, 20 years ago, this was unheard of within the club. You know what I mean? And that's one thing I will say with FSG, even though it pains me to give them any sort of credit, is off the pitch, they've made some very, very good decisions, but they've made some very, very bad decisions. But stuff like this, and we've talked about nearly week in, week out, with every week it's something different that's been, so the LGBTQ stuff with the club and stuff like that. But this again, to branch out there, it means that they'll have guys coming through, football coaches coming through from there that'll be signed up by the club. You know what I mean? Just giving people, who not so long ago this would have been their wildest dream, and now there's going to be kids signed up to train in this academy every day of the week under official Liverpool coaches. I'd imagine that every summer now that there'll be a team going on to play a friendly over there, or maybe a team being brought from there over to Liverpool to play a friendly and go to a game and stuff like that. So it's great that the club is building its brand, and then I'd imagine one day FSG will sell the club, and the state of affairs that's going to be left in, because when it is sold, it's going to be sold for massive, massive money, with massive money still coming in the door. So yeah, as much as it pains me to give FSG any sort of credit, you do have to kind of say kudos for some of the stuff that they have done.
Yeah, I think there's always a balance to the argument, but I just think as fans,
especially with you, Niall, I'm the madness, you're the calmness.
Yeah, but like when they do good work, we have to recognize as well. It's you can't just sit here and always say, oh, transfers and this. Like there's so much more to Liverpool Football Club, really, in terms of becoming this global power in football. You know what I mean? We weren't on last week, but one thing that disappointed me was these homophobic chants that came from the crowd at the Chelsea game. And Liverpool issued a statement saying that this is unacceptable and that they will be investigating it. And any fans found to be doing this, they will be banned for life. And I think that's the approach to take. I don't know how easy it is to nail it down and find out what it is or who it was. But if you're a fan out there and you're a fan of Liverpool, don't be like, this is 2021. This is not 1985. Cop on and like save that crap and get rid of it. Get it out of your life. It has no place in society anymore. And all you're doing is you're bringing bad taste and, bad publicity to the club, at a time where we have a fan base divided in terms of FSG and the ownership and stuff like that. We don't need all this other stupid stuff going on. If you're a real fan of Liverpool Football Club, you'll know how close it is to the community and the culture and the city and its fan base and how important we are to them. Don't be letting the players and the club down with this stupid carry on. Get it out of your life. It has no place in your life anymore. That's all I can be saying.
Especially with the announcement in the last few weeks of the partnership with the LGBTQ community and the stuff we were talking about 3 or 4 weeks ago. Like, I completely agree with everything you're saying, but unfortunately, Noel, with all clubs, you know what I mean? We've seen it with Everton fans, and I'm not just pointing the finger at Everton. We've seen it with Everton fans. I think there was a derby there 2 or 3 years ago when Liverpool won 5-2, I think, and the camera went to an Everton fan, and he's telling his son to mock Hillsborough. It was caught on live television. That kind of stuff. That's the mentality of some people. You know what I mean? And passing that on to the younger generation who are going to grow up with that hatred in their mind. That I hate Liverpool. I'm going to go to derbies and I'm not going to cheer my team. I'm just going to sit there and just mock Hillsborough You get United fans doing the same thing, but you get the minority Liverpool fans doing the, doing the playing gesture and stuff like that. Unfortunately, this will never be removed from football. Just one thing I want to touch on while we're on the subject of all this kind of thing. The Hungary fans last week against England, absolutely disgusting. The Hungarian FA to come out then and not even criticise the people who did it. They criticised the English FA for stuff that happened in a previous meeting between the teams. Here's one for FIFA. For all the shite that they're sticking their chest down trying to ban players from playing for their clubs because they didn't want to travel to a very, very badly COVID hit country. Fuck Hungary out of the qualifiers. Ban them from the next World Cup campaign.
Tackle the real issues.
Absolutely, absolute scum. Yeah. Not only are the fans, but it shows the mindset of the Hungarian FA and the players as well to criticise the England players when they went to the ref to point out what was being. The camera sat on that fat. I'm not even going to say what I think of him. The camera sat on that guy for about 10 seconds while he done that monkey gesture. That guy should be in police custody now.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what I mean? It's absolutely disgraceful that FIFA go down the road of all the shit that we've talked about. But yeah, already by now, Hungary should have been thrown out of that World Cup qualifying campaign and told that they won't play at the next World Cup or they won't play at the next European Championships. It's as simple as that. The longer that all this is let go, a little slap on the wrist, the longer it will continue.
Yeah, absolutely. I suppose what disappointed me the most, apart from the homophobic chants, was, there's Liverpool fans out there who never get to go to Anfield, who never feel that feeling of walking up those steps that we feel and the emotion of the song and all that. You mentioned I'm going over to the AC Milan game. I'll be doing a few podcasts while I'm over there as well. But, the feeling of being in that stadium on a Champions League night or on a Premier League match day, there's no better feeling in the world. And I can't understand why a fan going in to feel that whole buzz and the privilege of that when so many Liverpool fans can't do it. And I mean, that's where your focus is. Your focus is not on supporting your team and getting your team over the line and all that kind of thing and being that 12th man.
I'd imagine that most of these people that go in there are getting the tickets at face value and sit there and sing these songs, whereas we have to play nearly 4 or 5 times the face value to go over. And then we have to pay for our flights, which are like extortionate prices. And then we have to pay for a hotel and
I'm happy to do it.
Yeah, I'd pay double it if I'm honest. But we're paying that money for a 2-night stay where you'd probably get a week in the Canaries. When these guys probably do 5 minutes from Anfield, get the tickets for 20 quid and go down and like, what I do today? I'll sit here and shout homophobic chants at people. And I'm like what you said, like there's people out there who I imagine are devastated that they can't go to Anfield because they can't afford to go. And I've had arguments with people that that are season ticket holders, and I'm like, well, I'm sorry that I work in a job where I'm on minimum wage and I have a family afford to feed and I can't afford to go. Because believe me, if I had the money, and I imagine you would too, we'd be there every game, home and away.
Oh, 100%.
The way life works, unfortunately, we can't do. So these people, oh, I'm a season ticket holder. You're only an armchair fan because you go to a game every 6 or 7 months. That's what we do. I'm probably as passionate or more passionate about the club than most of these season ticket holders are. And I know you'll probably sit there and probably agree with me because you've seen the way I am with the club. But for these people to go week in, week out, and that's their mindset, it boggles my mind. It really, really does. You should be going there. When we're going to that game, like I'm buzzing. I think we're 6 weeks away from going.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I'm literally counting down the seconds. Like, the fact that we're doing a 2-night stay as well, we've got the whole day on Friday. We're talking about getting the tattoo, we're talking about doing the podcast, we're doing videos from the Hillsborough Memorial, stuff like that. But imagine then when I'm buying the shirt, we'll get a little video with that, with the 97 emblem and stuff like that. And then here's people that, what'll I do today? Okay, I'm going to single out someone for homophobic chants. And I'm just like, mate, cop on, it's 2021. If that's your mindset, don't go to the bleeding game. Sit at home and shout at the fucking telly, like.
And especially with Liverpool being such a generational fan base and such a family-orientated fan base. Imagine if you're sitting there with your kid trying to enjoy the game and these idiots are beside you with this sort of carry on. You know what I mean? It just disgusts you. You know what I mean? And it just shocks me that this still goes on in 2021. People need to hop on. You know what I mean? It's absolutely ridiculous. But enough said, enough airtime given to these idiots anyway. Let's get on with player watch there. Van Dijk the other night against Turkey gave us a bit of a scare. A horrific tackle that went in. I tell you, man goes on and puts the ball in the back of the net, and there's no issue. And but he gave us a scare, but he knocked it off. He came out and he said, "Not a problem." And you see him. I don't know if you've seen his interview. When the van came out, the fan jumps on him to get a selfie, and he just shoves him off. And I was looking at the video footage of the fan at the side, and I think when Van Dijk pushes you, he means it. Don't be trying to get back on, you know.
We see the calm and collected, happy go lucky kind of guy, but yeah, I'd imagine in that mindset, he's lucky he didn't get a clatter in the face. How did he even get onto the pitch though? You know what I mean? I know it's like we're laughing at it now, but this guy could have got on and gave him a smack in the mouth. He could have hit him with something. Yeah. But
he'd be a brave man to be giving Van Dijk a smack in the mouth or a bang or something. I'll tell you that much. Chap's a monster.
Thank God he came out and he said that he's 100% fit. But the only a game like Leeds, I think we need, you know, Matip and Van Dijk. What I would say though is we had to see Konate playing at some stage. I don't want to see it at the expense of a Virgil van Dijk being injured. So I'm hoping next week, Crystal Palace at home, hoping after Van Dijk plays tomorrow when he plays Tuesday against AC Milan that we do finally get to see the big debut next weekend against Crystal Palace. Fingers crossed.
Absolutely. Harvey Elliott as well gave us a bit of a scare. He pulled out of the England squad, but everything's all right. It was more precautionary than anything else. Looks like Klopp confirmed yesterday that he's good to go and he should feature in the Leeds game.
I think we've seen over the years, you know, especially with Man City players with their countries, you know, they were challenging for everything, that if they had that little tiny niggles, you know, it was like, I can't make the international duty, and then the following weekend they were right as rain. I think Liverpool and especially Klopp has got savvy now with the players and said, look, anything you feel at all there, even the slightest, you know, you pull out of that squad. And I think especially with Harvey Elliott, he knows he's got a massive opportunity at Liverpool now. A massive opportunity. Everybody is behind him. You look at what Mo Salah and Sadio have been saying about him as well. You look at the trust Jurgen has in him. You know, his bread and butter. He's going to be an international superstar as well. He knows right now that his bread and butter is at Liverpool. So, you know, he was looking at that and saying, well, do I stay with England if I pick up an injury and then I'm out for 5 or 6 weeks with Liverpool and someone else comes in and takes the chance that I'm after being given? So I'm expecting another masterclass from him tomorrow.
Yeah. He also confirmed yesterday that Minamino, Firmino and Milner will be absent. Obviously, it's always nice to have James there on the bench. He's an absolute stalwart for us and always can come in and do a job. Bobby will be missed, but I think we'll be okay with Jota slotting in there. I don't see that being a problem. Now, if anything, I think Jota with that bit of nastiness in him at times, I think we'll suit against a Leeds team, you know. Minamino, again, injured, but look, we'll have to wait and see what happens there. Fabinho came out this week. He says 3 games a week is quite intense, but he's looking forward to the challenge. So I love to hear that as well, that he's not brushing it off. He's well up for it. And if he has to play the 3 games a week, it's not a problem to him. He's looking forward to it, you know. So, but 3 games a week is very intense, isn't it?
Yeah, especially with well, obviously, our lads didn't play the international break, but you know, when it is going to come to when they do have to go back to play internationals in Brazil, and especially with the South American guys, you're traveling 3,500 miles over to play a couple of games. You have the time difference, then you have to come back, then you have to settle back in, try and get your sleep pattern correct, just get back into the training routine with the club and all. It is really, really tough. And hopefully soon that's something that FIFA will look at, where there be a set calendar every single year and UEFA for qualifiers, that, you know, you can take a break. Players can come back. They're not coming back to their clubs on a Tuesday or a Wednesday, and they're expected to play on Saturday and Sunday. So, but that's 3 or 4 times now Fabinho's came out this summer and said that, you know, this is tough, that's tough, but I'm really, really excited. I think everybody knows that even though we finished the season relatively well last year, that, you know, it's all guns blazing this year. Look, Chelsea, it is what it is. I do think that we could have went on and won the game against 10 men, but we were devoid of ideas, and Chelsea were so compact and just absorbed everything. But, you know, tomorrow is a new opportunity, and, you know, tomorrow is a massive, massive game. And what we were saying about, it's nice to have James Milner there. It would have been a lot worse if Fabinho wasn't part of the team. So, you know, these lads are playing tomorrow. I do think we'll get a win tomorrow. Goes into Tuesday then, or Wednesday night, confidence sky high.
Yeah.
Palace at home next week. You know, I'm still very, very excited. I'm trying to put what happened behind me now, and it's just back the team 100%, and counting down the seconds until we get over there.
Yeah, one thing we didn't mention because of last week's show wasn't on. It was Jared Houlié's birthday as well, so we always like to remember the man and stuff like that. So, rest in peace, Jared. Ox celebrated 4 years at the club this week. To me, it felt like 4 months, but it was kind of a weird one. But he came out and he said he kind of came in kind of like a prospect, but he has matured into a senior player. Now, obviously, he was very unfortunate with that bad knee injury that would have destroyed.
He was flying when he got that injury.
That would have destroyed most careers. And I know we've seen him in pre-season where he's been outstanding in that number 9 role. And he was winding up Bobby and all on Twitter and stuff like that about how well he was playing in it and stuff like that. And what's your overall feeling with Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain?
I think that injury, as you said, Niall, I believe that's been his downfall. I believe when he picked up that injury, he was one of the best players in the team, and he was really going on a run. You know, the team was at its peak, and we were doing extremely well on all fronts, European and domestic. And you know, we picked up that injury, and I really felt it because when he came in, I was a bit iffy. You know, let's be honest. When he came in from Arsenal, like he was kind of in and out of the Arsenal team, and then he came into the Liverpool, and it was like, is this a guy coming in to sit on a bench every week? And you know, for me, he didn't hit the ground running, but then when he got his opportunity, he scored a few goals, he got a few assists, and all. He really blended into the team, and when he picked up that injury, for me, it's been stop-start since. You know, and I don't want to get on the guy's back. I'm just hoping that he can put the injuries behind him now. And when he does get an opportunity, that he really does take it, because he's a likable guy, you know what I mean? He has his own song. I won't sing it because it's involves him and his missus. And another thing, congratulations on the arrival of his first baby boy, Axel. What a name. Hope he has a big afro like his our lad. But yeah, he's
a Beverly Hills Cop fan.
Yeah, but no, he's been when he before he got that injury, I thought he was outstanding, and that injury really did knock him back. I think both mentally and physically. Because as you said, that injury could have ended careers. It was horrible. I was watching it the other day. Got a notification. It was like Ox's best bits, but a show with the injury, and you know that could have ended a lot of players' careers. You know, he's came back this summer. He's really stood out. Jurgen has come out and said he's been great. Pep Linders, John Attenborough, the lads have been talking about how good he is. We've seen all the videos of him winding Firmino up and stuff. I just hope that, you know, as time comes again in the team, and when it does come, we can stay injury free, like Naby Keita, and really grab the opportunity, because we need all hands on deck. We're not blessed with the most, you know, exciting, great quality in the squad. But on his day, Ox can be that game changer. We've seen against Man City in the Champions League quarter final a few years back, where, you know, he just destroyed Man City's midfield. So we need that again, and I'm just hoping that when he does get his opportunity, and I believe it'll come soon, that, you know, we can grab it with both hands, because we do know that he has the quality in him. So let's just see that again.
Yeah, absolutely. That kind of rounds out the show, but just a little bit of housekeeping. Obviously, you still have time. There's about 2 hours to go if you want to go over and check out that Beat the Bookie episode that we dropped yesterday with all the weekend's tips. Dino dropped over his tips for the weekend and his bets and stuff like that. Some interesting ones there. Also coming up, you'll see your Leeds Liverpool preview will be dropping today. Obviously, your Shankly sessions as well. We have a Champions League preview with Darren McCumsky, of course, from the show. That'll be dropping on Monday. I'll be heading over to Liverpool for the AC Milan game. I'm heading over on Wednesday morning, so we'll be dropping footage and visiting all those beautiful murals, including that new Gerrard one, which looks absolutely outstanding. Although Dano probably doesn't like the Warrior jersey on him, he probably wanted a better one. But looks amazing.
I'm more disappointed I'm not going. I'll be crying on Wednesday morning. I'll be like, I should be on the boat going over to Liverpool. But make sure you go down and do a little preview of where we'll be staying when we go over for the Brighton game.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
which we confirmed yesterday. But
Yeah.
I'm so jealous to have you going over on Wednesday. I honestly am devastated. I'm not going.
Yeah,
It's
and
going to be rocking on Wednesday
yeah.
night.
I was just looking at it last week and I was thinking, AC Milan at Anfield, how can you turn that down? You have to go over, get that Champions League campaign going. Also, if there's any Liverpool fans out there who want to meet up with us while we're over there, shoot a few podcasts and have a chat about Liverpool, hit me up. You'll get me on Twitter at Session Shankly, of course, on Facebook and Instagram, the Upper Tier. As always, the videos are on YouTube, Dynamo Podcast Network, and you'll get audio versions of the show wherever you pick up audio version, Spotify, Podbean, iTunes. Also, two very interesting interviews coming up next week. I'll be interviewing Stephen McGuinness, who is an absolute League of Ireland legend, but also is the General Secretary for the PFAI, representing the Professional Footballers Association of Ireland.
That should be an interesting conversation.
That'll be a very interesting conversation, especially in light of what's gone on this week with FIFA and stuff like that. We'll be getting his views on that. Also, we have a brilliant interview coming up with one Felix Healy. If you're a Derry City fan out there, Coleraine,
legend of the game,
you'll remember who Felix Healy is. And he's coming on the show, and we're going to be having a real in-depth chat about how his time at Derry City and their success galvanized the community during the Troubles. And also there'll be a story there about how a European tie was nearly called off at the Brandywell with a couple of bomb threats during those Troubles and stuff like that. So some really brilliant interviews coming up on the tier as well. Dino, as always, a pleasure. Come on, you red men. 3 points at Ellen Road.
Great to be back, my man. Great to be back. I love you. I'm so sorry. Please forgive me.
You sound like Shawn Michaels.